Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're going to be talking about builds and this particular concept of the hybrid build or all-round build. I got a comment on one of my videos that asked me, can you make an all-round build? Can you make a build that serves a wide purpose? The answer to that is yes. You can do it. You can make a build that serves a wide range of different purposes or utility. But I would say that in many cases, many people might advise against that. And we'll talk about the different aspects as to why we may advise against that. And in some cases, why it may be necessary that you actually do stuff like that. So let's say you're engaging in heroic content as a solo player. This is a big deal. A lot of people want to go into these, missions solo. So they make a build that serves the purpose of keeping them alive, serves the purpose of damaging enemies, serves the purpose of having some survivability and some damage mitigation. So consider these things I said. You keep yourself alive, you damage the enemies, you have survivability, and you have damage mitigation, meaning you're able to eat bullets or damage from the enemy. So in this case, you're going to spec slightly differently. It's either you're trying to go in there and create something that suits your play style that will kind of reward you as your play style is being, expressed. So some people are run and gun, like one of my colleagues here in the community, Shadow Gaming. He plays very aggressively. Like he scares me. He just runs to the front of the enemy NPCs, rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. So he is that kind of a player. So for him, a build like his has to be able to melt any enemy he faces. So he will run those builds that are very, very aggressive, that are very powerful, and, a build that gives him that kind of a satisfaction. Now, if he was running that build by himself, he would probably have to tone down a lot of maybe the way he's actually building to allow for some things to heal him. Maybe like having a little bit of armor on kill. So anytime he takes out an enemy, he gets some armor back. Just a few little tweaks will have to go into, in quote, what you're calling an all-round build, right? Now, consider, say, he's playing on a team with, a lot of other people who are playing now a higher difficulty mission, like a legendary mission. In that case, you're not playing by yourself, number one. Number two, the content is much more difficult. And number three, effectiveness is pretty much going to save your team a lot of hassle and actually get the job done. And the more effective you are in the role that you're playing, the better it is for you and everybody else. In this case, all-round builds may not necessarily be advised. Now, not saying that there's anything against it. I'm just saying it may not be advised because in this case, everybody wants to be able to do their job as effectively as possible. And so this is where you're going to need that precision building or building that complements your role very well and complements your team. So usually I go into a lot of the, legendary missions using skill builds. And I know it does do a good job because it reduces my exposure and reduces the team exposure as well. Some people go in with gun builds. Yes, there are people who I think they're crazy enough to do it. And so in that case, I'm happy because, they have that direct contact. Whereas with skills, I use indirect damage and direct contact using my drones, using my turrets to take out enemy NPCs. They have line of sight. They have a little bit of advantage as well, the way that they play. But a lot of times their builds also have to be very effective. At that point, I don't think they're looking to leverage, in many cases that I've seen from, looking and inspecting people's builds. I did not think that they were trying to leverage things like armor on kill. I think they went full crit chance, full crit damage, and all of the possible damage that they could actually muster in their builds in order for them to be able to knock out the content as best as possible. So this is kind of the theme I've noticed in that, with people that go that direction when they're actually making their builds for those kinds of missions. So I think, again, what you will call the all-round build, more than anything else, is a build that in a case suits your play style and a build that fits the context of the kinds of missions that you're playing. It's that simple. In other aspects or in other missions, whenever I'm going into these legendary missions, you'll notice that from the build that I'm using here, I'm using a status effect build. A status effect build, to me, in some cases, provides a lot of value. If you look at this build setup here that I have on the screen, I'm using a build with Eclipse Protocol, the Vow Mask, and I'm using a Wyvern down knee pad. That's because I've been lazy to switch out the golem that I finally farmed. And this has been of huge and tremendous value to me and my team members. I am also doing some really cool stuff too by using the survivalist specialization to add more damage for my teammates who may be using other means of, damage dealing to be able to take out enemy NPCs. So those are some of the other things that, you also consider when you're making your build. So even though you may spec to have that one direct function or one direct, role, like in my case, status effect with damage, with multi-kill capability, I'm also playing a support role on the back end using my specialization. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, you have to get to the point as a division agent where you're paying a lot of close attention to all the different elements of your build. This is how you're going to get that all-round satisfaction that you feel you need, or the all-round build that you believe can actually do more things than it's actually suited for. I mean, yes, you can build one track and be, pretty much nuclear every time you use that build, but if you wanted to add some variety, there are ways to be able to do it and not lose out too much on some of the more important phases of your build. It takes a lot of tinkering. It takes a lot of time. I don't want to make a habit of actually making cookie cutter builds in the way I present a lot of the mechanics in this game. Instead, what I want to do is I want to encourage agents to take time to practice, that discipline of testing out things for themselves, failing, and then actually honing and fine-tuning a build that does work for them. In my case, I've never necessarily prioritized a lot of gun builds in this game. In fact, the moment skills got better, I have stuck with skills almost the whole time. And the more I continue to stick with skills, the more I continue to experiment in that space. I'm trying out some really new things like the bombardier drone. That's a little challenging to use, to be very honest. I don't even think I like it, but that's just my preliminary, I would say observation. Who knows? It might be something that I pick up and then it becomes, kind of a staple for me as time goes on. But at the end of the day, the question about building in this game has to do a lot with context, has to do a lot with exactly what it is you're trying to play. And then at the end of the day, has to do with a lot of experimentation. It's possible, but not necessarily advised all of the time. But you have to consider those factors when you're actually bringing all of this together. So I hope this was kind of helpful for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Veterans, talk about your approach in the comment section on how you build. This is, I think, something that is very helpful for new players. They'll read the comment section. They'll be able to glean ideas that make sense for them, that actually do impact their own builds and impact their strategies and the teams that they play on. And I believe that this is something that's going to be very helpful for everyone. At the end of the day, this is something that we try to do as an initiative to get new players quite comfortable in this game. So I'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully we'll talk in another one. Peace out.